Meanwhile, federal, state and building ministers have agreed to form a task force to address problems in the industry, including combustible cladding and safety defects. Caroline Marcus is in Sydney, where urgent talks have been underway between government ministers and industry stakeholders, and she joins me now. Caroline, so it's basically finally agreeing to work together on all of this. We still need some detail and the insurers to come to the party as well.
That's right, Tom. The detail is a little bit light at the moment, but what we do know is that state, territory and federal government have agreed to form what is being called an implementation team or a task force to address some of the issues that have been plaguing the construction industry across the country. Now, this implementation team will form part of the Australian Building Code Board, and in particular it will put in place the 24 recommendations that came out of the Shergold Weir report, which was released in April last year. Now, in particular, the recommendations centred on the registration and training of practitioners, fire regulations and the role and integrity of building surveyors and regulators.
There is solidarity that what we need to do is rebuild confidence in Australia's building and construction sector.
Now, the states and territories also agreed to take a unified approach towards professional indemnity insurance, but the governments want insurance companies to come to the party to work with them on this issue. Insurers, on the other hand, released a statement today, the Insurance Council of Australia, saying while this is a positive step, they still have concerns about delays in implementing these recommendations and that further undermining confidence in the industry. Now, the federal opposition has come out today saying that it wants to see something concrete come out of today's meeting.
We want to see something come out of today's meeting. We'd expect there to be some movement on the indemnity insurance. We would expect the federal government to start taking a leadership role with respect to the cladding, the inflammable cladding that's been used inappropriately. It's important that they use their leverage to do so.
Now, in Victoria, the Premier Daniel Andrews this week announced that he will be spending $600 million in taxpayer funds to address the combustible cladding issue over there, with some 500 buildings deemed unsafe. In New South Wales, there are more than 600 buildings which have combustible cladding, and one strata community group estimated that it will cost at least $1 billion to fix that in this state, with more to fix some of the safety defects that we've seen recently that have led to the evacuation of 3 buildings due to cracking and other problems.
Buildings like the one we see behind us could be many millions of dollars to rectify. And the problem we have is that buildings are unlikely to come forward these days and to give a full account of the extent of the defect rectification cost because of the perception, the reality of the impact that the value has on those properties.
Now, the states have been pushing hard for some federal help in fixing some of these issues, but Federal Minister Karen Andrews said today that the Commonwealth will not be putting a cent towards helping to fix cladding and other safety defects. Instead, she says that is an issue for the states and territories.